Silly butt, we back. Let's get it.
We came to this country because this is a safe place to live. Not anymore. Not anymore.
Long Beach, California, best known for attractions like the Aquarium of the Pacific and Shoreline Village, as well as events like the Acura Grand Prix and the Long Beach Pride Festival. It is also frequently used as a filming location for television and movies, making it one of the most famous places in America. But Long Beach is also famous for a far more sinister reason: violent, feuding gangs that populate it and terrorize the streets. One gang have become notorious for their violence and have left a legacy of death and destruction. They are known as the Tiny Rascal Gang, or TRG.
Tiny Rascals?
So,
Little
let's
Rascals?
dive right in and discover how this Asian gang became the most brutal.
Man, I thought
in
they was
America.
Mexicans. What, Asian? Man,
Some victims
listen,
suffered
I
life-altering
couldn't tell the
injuries,
difference.
and the entire community was traumatized by these crimes.
No comment.
October 29th, 2019, and first responders have no idea of the horrors they are
Like
about
4
to
years
witness.
ago.
The dead and injured litter the backyard of a home that had just been the scene of one of the worst gang-related mass shootings California has ever seen.
Witnesses say they heard around 20 shots in all, and police say the suspect opened fire at a Halloween party at the home.
The victims have been at a costume party when all of a sudden, a group of gunmen appeared and began the onslaught. The terrified partygoers tried to escape, but were met with a rain of bullets. When police investigate, they find those responsible are members of the infamous Tiny Rascal Gang, and the hunt to find the shooters was on.
In the early hours of September 2nd, we began a multiple-day operation to bring those
They can't even
responsible
tell us
for
how
this
many
horrific
people
crime
died.
to justice.
But who are these tiny rascals, and how did they get to become one of the most
Had to
feared
be a
gangs
lot.
in California? Well, their history will leave you completely horrified. Back in the 1970s, the people of Cambodia were desperate to escape their tyrannical government. The United States came to the rescue and began allowing refugees to settle and offering a new start and a new life. Like many refugees, they came from a country full of mistrust and paranoia of the government and the authorities. Their basic grasp of English, lack of knowledge around local culture and society, and poor living conditions created a barrier between the Cambodians and the locals. The refugees mainly populated the east side of Long Beach, an area already infamous for several gangs, including the Rolling 20s, Sons of Samoa, the Baby Insane Crips, and, the baddest of all, the Longos. The Cambodian teenagers, some as young as 14, began hanging around on the streets together, and they were getting noticed. It's believed a Cambodian youth was attacked by a Mexican gang member, and with that, the Tiny Rascals began their inception. Gangs of Cambodian refugees began to form in order to protect their own from discrimination.
That's how
and
gangs
violence,
always start.
eventually becoming the TRG we know today, with their choice of gang color, gray. It did not take them long to rack up a long list of crimes, including
Man, hold
extortion.
up. You can't go to California and you can't wear no color besides white? Are you serious? You probably can't even wear white. That's a gang, technically. You can't wear nothing in Cali, yo. You can't wear gray. They rock gray. Are you serious, yo? Like, mad crazy in Cali right now, yo. I don't know how y'all do it out there.
Murder, kidnapping, robbery, burglary, home invasion, and narcotic and weapons trafficking. But with so many gangs roaming the streets, it was only a matter of time before confrontations began and slowly became more deadly. The violence escalated, leading to one of the bloodiest nights in the history of Long Beach.
Another one?
So I can't imagine why anyone would want to hurt any of those people. Whoever was responsible of this should have to face the consequences.
It all started with the first shooting, 20 years earlier on another deadly Halloween night.
Oh, they all going out
October
trick or
31st,
shooting?
1989. A bunch of East Side Longos were hanging out on a Long Beach street, unaware of the danger lurking. Just down the street, a car full of TRG members were approaching, and they were heavily armed. The TRG opened fire and brutally gunned down a gang member by the name of Oswaldo, killing him instantly. He was only 16 years old.
Damn.
Until this point, the rivalry between the two had been all showmanship and hand-to-hand fighting. But now, the streets of Long Beach would become a violent battleground.
Silverado Park here in Long Beach was the scene of a triple shooting this afternoon. Possible gang violence. Homicide and gang detectives have been out here for several hours as the investigation continues.
Carloads of gangs would patrol the streets, all armed, all ready to kill, leaving the East Side residences living in a real-life nightmare.
Yeah, they can't even come
The
outside.
victims were on the basketball court when a car drove by and gunfire erupted. Police say there was actually an exchange of gunfire between an occupant or occupants of the vehicle and someone in the park.
The
Damn.
Longos have been separated into the East and West Side, and the three gangs all feuded with each other. To gain the upper hand, the West Side Longos and the East Side Longos put their differences aside and teamed up to take control of the streets. Outnumbered and outgunned, the TRG would turn to another rival gang and make a deal they could not refuse. With a chance to share huge areas of the East Side, the Asian boys agreed to join forces with the TRG as the two put aside past feuds. Then, unexpectedly, they were approached by the baby insane Crips, and suddenly, the odds were starting to look more in the TRG's
Oh,
favor.
these
It's
motherfuckers out
believed over
there.
55 drive-by shootings occurred in the first 18 months of the gang war.
Man, what
and
the
a total
fuck?
of 10 people were shot dead. They would open fire on motorists, cyclists, pedestrians, and through the doors and windows of homes, killing or wounding gang members, their relatives, and even innocent passerbys. The Longos knew they were heavily outnumbered with the three combined rivals, but the TRG and the Asian boys had the advantage when it came to firepower.
You got anything illegal in your house?
No.
Okay. Just make sure everything's cool. Anyone else home besides the two of you guys today?
Motherfucker know that,
You got no
lying.
drugs or guns or nothing like that? Good. I'm glad to see that.
Both gangs had connections to their countries of origin and were able to smuggle large shipments of powerful weaponry to take on the Longos, including military C4 explosives and grenades. These weapons would cost a lot of money, and to raise it, the TRG and their affiliates began a crime wave that left the streets gripped with fear and helped to cement the TRG as one of the most sick and twisted gangs roaming the streets of the United States.
Nobody know the gunman. He wear the mask. Nobody know.
Damn.
August 10th, 1995, and a home invasion turns into a massacre when TRG members open fire on the Nguyen family inside. After ransacking the house, it's reported they executed the father, son Nguyen, his wife, and 4 of his children one by one. Miraculously, a 3-year-old survived the ordeal, but even he was shot by the gang, showing the true brutality of their nature.
Wow.
Detectives continued to trace the route taken by the 3 vehicles believed to be involved in this shooting.
I mean,
Other
technically they
break-ins
not from the
resulted in
United
mother
States, so
killed
they
while
don't
her
really
baby
care
was
about
in the
nobody
other
over
room,
here
and a mother
anyway. So I can
and robbed
see
in her home.
why they didn't
They
really
thought they had killed
find
her, but
nothing
as they
in their heart to
strangled
want to
her, she
help
lay dead in
anyone
a
from
horrifying
America.
and unthinkable ordeal. Other victims of their home invasions were strangled with phone cords and shot in the chest
Continued
or
to
even in
trace the
face
route
at
My bad,
taken
y'all.
by
Let
the
me
3
rewind that
Although
real
it's
quick.
not clear-
believed to be
Should've
involved
paused that.
in this shooting.
Other break-ins resulted a mother killed while her baby was in the other room, and a mother raped and robbed in her home. They thought they had killed her, but as they strangled her, she played dead in a horrifying and unthinkable ordeal. Other victims of their home invasions were strangled with phone cords and shot in the chest or even in the face at close range. Although it's not clear how the relationship between the TRG and the Asian boys began to deteriorate, we do know by the year 2000, the Asian boys had broken away and changed their gang color from gray to blue. But instead of going it alone, they had joined up the Crip family and the Baby Insanes. This caused a huge tension in the local community, and the former refugees of Long Beach began moving away to much safer areas. And with that, the TRG began to spread further across the state. Although no gang would have the impact of the original crew, they did have a very useful purpose for each other, as they would work together to try and thwart police investigations, or at least make their work harder.
We're going to go do a
Wow.
probation search on some known TRG gang members who are also on what's known as searchable probation. They're validated TRG gang members. They're on probation. in lieu of being incarcerated, we're going to go and do a compliance check.
In 2001, the TRG and Asian boys began a bloody battle after tensions rose between the two. To send a message to the TRG, the Asian boys would need a target, and they would find it in one of the few non-Cambodian members of the gang, Ruel Holbert, also known as Loki. While leaving a liquor store, Loki was gunned down by the Asian boys in a savage drive-by shooting. Miraculously, Loki survived, but he wanted revenge. However, the other TRG gang members maintained they wanted to try and keep the peace, so Loki decided to become a one-man army and handle the problem himself.
Damn.
December 2003, and Loki meets up with an unsuspecting associate of the Asian boys, Daniel Chanta. When they met, he pulled out a gun and shot him at close range. Only 11 days later, on New Year's Eve, he found himself driving around Asian boys' territory, and he was out looking for trouble. When he spotted high-ranking member Wood T. Bung Thong, he opened fire and claimed his second victim of his revenge spree.
Wow.
His bloodlust not satisfied, he then went out the very next day. His third victim, Sakorn Fan. He was shot dead as he sat in his car.
Damn.
Loki was caught 4 days later at another shooting and was eventually incarcerated for life. The violence would continue for over a decade, but the incident in October 2019 was by far the most deadly and shocking to ever happen.
We acknowledge that none of this makes sense, so I want to clarify a potential motive. This is an extremely complex and detailed case, and we now know that this was a pre-planned attack on what the suspects incorrectly believed to be a party of rival gang members.
Surveillance footage from a gas station caught 3 SUVs gathering and then driving off in the direction of a house that was throwing a Halloween-themed birthday party. At that party was Timmy Ngoy, and he was a friend of a TRG member, Jeremy Fenn, who had declined an invitation to attend. As everyone partied in the backyard, Fenn called his friend Ngoy twice. First, he mysteriously asked him to get inside the house. Then, after Ngoy ushered all the partygoers inside, Fenn called back and confronted him about it, before suddenly hanging up the phone.
Long Beach police arrested 12 people in connection with a mass shooting at a Halloween party last year.
Things got even more concerning after the party returned outside, when the party host, Daniel Chan, also asked them to go back inside the house. What could possibly cause such unusual behavior? The answer was in a video circulating online, and in it was the host of the party. And that was the reason why Fenn had decided not to show. In the video, Chan is seen to be disrespecting the TRG, and maybe deep down, Fenn knew what might be coming. It can only be assumed it was Fenn who called Chan, telling him to gather everyone inside. Once again, the party found itself in the backyard, but within minutes, the partying scene would become a gruesome crime scene.
One man who lives nearby was walking home when he says he saw a white van that was circling and then heard gunfire.
God damn.
The 3 SUVs that had been seen on surveillance earlier in the night pulled up, and the nightmare began.
Maurice Poe Jr., a 25-year-old from the city of Long Beach. Ricardo Torres, a 28-year-old resident of the city of Inglewood. And Melvin Williams II, a 35-year-old from the city of Gardena. I ask that you please keep their families in your thoughts and prayers.
As well as the tragic deaths of 3 innocent victims, there were also 9 with injuries. Some of those injuries would prove life-threatening for one partygoer.
The bullet hit me in my neck.
Damn,
And it went
not
through
the
my
one
body,
not the
and it
cute
came
one.
out the opposite side of my back, and that's how my spinal cord became damaged.
It would not take long to find those involved, and 7 were arrested and charged with a massacre.
7.
I'm here to announce
They was
the arrest
tearing it down.
of 12 suspects involved in the tragic shooting of October 29th last year. 2 of the 12 suspects are already in custody on unrelated charges.
Hey, acting.
That night, we lost 3
They
victims.
was innocent.
They wait trial and are currently where they belong, locked up with no chance of bail. The tiny rascals continue to prey on Long Beach, California, their fearsome reputation solidified in the history of gang warfare across the United States. As heartbreaking and tragic as these cases are, it should be noted that these kinds of all-out street wars are very rare, and with the help of police like those in California, those who chose the gang life may face the most severe of punishment, even the death penalty. What do you think about the Tiny Rascal Gang? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more from the sinister world of organized crime.
Wow. We done seen cartel. We done seen NBA players. We done seen the Sicarias, the beautiful women down there in the cartels. We done seen a lot. We done seen the suitcase situation. We ain't seen the Asian people get active, and by far some of the worst people to deal with. Highly recommend you don't cross anyone in California. And also make sure you wear nothing but the color white to show that you're nothing but a saint. But it's your boy DtaeNoDinero, and we out. Peace, let's get it. See you back.